in the crossfire of a lover's triangle. Here's Keith Morrison.
What was she thinking when she went to the computer, when she typed in those 5 little words? Did she not understand where those little words might lead?
Where are you at? Okay, what's your name?
Michelle Thier was, no doubt about it, dissatisfied. Here she was, young, successful, attractive, and yet wasn't exactly boredom that was eating at Michelle. After all, she was just starting a new career as a psychologist, often counseling troubled couples.
She was relatively new with her license. I think that was her first real job.
Of course, Michelle would have laughed at the idea that pretty soon now, events would propel her to such notoriety that newspaper reporters like Melissa Stoddard Diaz would be poking around in her past.
Michelle, from everyone I've spoken to, wanted to be somebody and really worked hard to get to where she ultimately got her degree and became a professional.
But then Michelle, even at an early age, always seemed confident about getting what she wanted. She was just 16 when she started dating Marty. Marty Thier was a couple of years older, worldly, bright, friendly, had big plans. He wanted to be an astronaut. He went to the Air Force Academy. She was 20 when she married him at the Academy's famous chapel outside Colorado Springs.
Marty, may kiss your bride.
This was back in 1991, when Marty was all she ever wanted. Long before she talked to that psychologist, agreed to record for the record her thoughts about the weird events yet to come, and those happy days with Marty, too, of course.
We did everything together. He treated me really well. I thought we had the perfect relationship. We were best friends.
He was the dashing young officer back then, she his lovely bride. The future, she imagined, an endless honeymoon in which Marty's Air Force career would take them to exotic destinations all around the world. She just didn't imagine that world would be unromantic Air Force outposts in Oklahoma and Alabama and Florida, and finally Fayetteville, North Carolina. They came here in 1999. Marty was Captain Thier by then, flew one of those huge C-130 cargo planes. All that time alone, not so easy on a marriage, as she revealed during those tape-recorded interviews with psychologist Dr. Deborah Layton Thole.
Michelle talked about a few problems in the marriage, primarily growing apart over the years. Marty was away for extended periods of time. She had a hard time with that. It was getting more difficult for her. She was lonely.
Sometimes he was gone for months. And when he finally did come home, military families have come to know that adjustment period all too well. They bickered, they argued about her housekeeping, his job, about having children. He wanted them, she didn't. She was worried she'd be stuck raising them by herself in a town where she was already miserable and lonely.
There was in Fayetteville, Loserville, and had nobody to hang out with. Nobody I could pick up the phone and call.
That, actually, is about the time it started. Harmless, really, just a few keystrokes. See what might happen. Goes on all the time these days on the internet. Sexy brunette seeks rendezvous man. And before long, her internet inquiry got a response. From him. His name was John Diamond.
John loved women. John was a ladies' man. John always had girlfriends.
So, Debbie Dvorak, John's kid sister, could certainly see her brother responding to a solicitation like Michelle's.
My brother's got a great personality. He's an attractive guy, and, his personality makes him that much more attractive.
Then, a few days after meeting online, they met in person at a local restaurant.
He was charming, he was funny, talked about movies and music and things that me and Marty didn't talk about.
John Diamond was an Army Ranger, based at Fort Bragg, trained as a sniper. Highly regarded, decorated. He'd been in the service since he was 18.
By all accounts, he was a good soldier, but he was a playboy himself. He had been married once before and had a child from his first marriage, and he left the first wife and married, and they had a son together.
Michelle didn't know that John was still married, but maybe it didn't matter, at least not then. She loved the sex, the attention, the excitement.
I mean, he was very attentive, he was very affectionate, he was very adoring. Yeah, it felt great.
What made her so desirable to him?
I think it was just the sex. That was what he was obsessed with. He was smitten with having sex with her.
For Michelle, well, it was more lust than love.
She felt that the affair did not take away from the fact that she loved Marty. She said he was the love of her life, and that she never loved John Diamond.
And Marty?